Taste the heavenly bread and the cup.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good morning. I think you can do better. Good morning. Just barely. Today is St. Gregory Palamas. St. Gregory was a 14th century bishop, as Father Robert told us in his homily today. He is one of the lights of Orthodoxy. He, a monk, was trying to figure out what God was in essence and in his energies. There was a big discussion at that time in church history about this topic. He also was very important in the discussion of the Jesus prayer and the concept of ησυχία. Ησυχία means silence. That we are silent enough during our lives every day that we can actually hear God speaking to us. That we can be in that moment of time in close communion with Him without the distractions of the world. At that time, of course, they didn't have radios. They didn't have televisions. They certainly didn't have cell phones. But there was still noise within the society that was pushing out our time during the day to be with God. And so he pushed for it, that we would have that moment every day. In silence, we would sit. And so today we celebrate his name day. My baptismal name was George. When I went to the monastery of Agia Lavra in Kalavrita, Greece, to become a monk, in the tradition of the monastic community, the old person dies and a new person is born. And they usually take the first letter of the name and assign a new name to that person with the same first letter. And so the afternoon before they started the vigil that would eventually end up with me becoming a monk, at midnight between the matin services and the divine liturgy, they had to come up with a new name for George. And so the abbot was sitting there with the Metropolitan of Atlanta, Alexios, my bishop from the south, and they said, Gregory. And being the recent graduate of the Seminary of Holy Cross in Boston, I said, which Gregory? There are many Gregories. And they said, yes, you're right. There are many Gregories. And they discussed it among themselves, and they said, Palamas. Gregory Palamas. And I said, okay, sounds all right. The fact that I had done a 15-page paper on Gregory Palamas at seminary my senior year meant that there was already a connection between us. That I had studied this saint of the church. I had studied his theories and his writings on the essence and energies of God. And I said, Palamas would be fine. And so at my tonsure of Gregory Palamas, he became my patron saint. And so a dear friend of mine from school decided that the epigonation for this feast day would be Gregory Palamas. This was a gift from one of my classmates when I became Gregory of Palamas. And so for 5 years I was Gregory of Palamas. And on the second Sunday of Lent, I celebrated him, and on the 14th of November, which is the day of his passing from the earthly existence, and so 2 days Gregory is celebrated. The fact that your old calendar gives me a 13 days later celebration of Palamas too. And so whenever George is celebrated, people remember, I was George, and they say, Kronia Pola, many years. And sometimes they get confused in January because there's Gregory the theologian. And they say, Chronia Pola, and I say, thank you. And then Palamas comes, and someone today will say, Chronia Pola, and I will say, thank you. And of course, in November, someone will remember, and they'll go, Chronia Pola, and I'll say, thank you. The day of my consecration as a bishop in this cathedral was Gregory Palamas of the old calendar. We didn't even think about it at all. No one even thought. We just have to do it the last day before the Lenten season begins, Advent, for Christmas. The last day that we can eat meat was the 27th of November. And so Archbishop Demetrius says, we will come that day. I said, fine. It was a Tuesday. And that morning I went, oh my God, it's Palamas, old calendar. Of course, at my election, my name was Gregory. And Patriarch Bartholomew said, is Nyssa open? In other words, the name, the title, is it available or does someone else have it? And at that moment, no one else had it. And said, Nyssa. That's how I became Gregory of Nyssa. However, I'm only the second Nyssa of this church's history in this diocese. Your second ruling hierarch, John, was John of Nyssa. And so I have another connection with one of your hierarchs of the past in title. I just wanted you to know that God works in mysterious ways. The Holy Spirit is doing all kinds of things in our lives. To take that boy from Charlotte, who was George, to make him Palamas, to make him Nyssa. And the title, when you're speaking with the Greeks, hierarchs, they don't say Gregory of Nyssa, they say Onisis, the one of Nyssa. And so when I speak with Metropolitan Alexios, I go, O Atlantas, the one of Atlanta. We don't have the one of Johnstown yet, but we're working on it. We are already 2 weeks into the Lenten season. Next Sunday will be the halfway point of the 40 days of Lent. Lent is not just a time to worry about what we're eating, although that's very important. It is, however, also important to check our relationships. What's our relationship with God? What's our relationship with Jesus Christ? How about his mother? How about our guardian angel? How about your patron saint? How about your spouse? How about your children? What's the relationship between siblings? How about our classmates, our co-workers, our neighbors? What's our relationship with them? It's either very good or it's toxic. Somewhere in the middle, probably. And so check the relationships and make them better. The time is now, not later. Now is the time to reconcile with those we have differences with, so that as we approach Holy Week, when we are going through the passions of Christ, and we're anticipating the resurrection of the Lord, that we can receive that light and be happy with all of our relationships. Ones that have lasted years have to be fixed. I know of 2 men in Florida, Greeks, Constantine and Nicholas. 2 brothers, they're in their 70s now, approaching their 80s. They've not spoken to each other for over 12 years. Why? Because in their community they had a Greek festival, And like all Greek festivals, you have to have the souvlaki sandwich. And wherever you have the souvlaki sandwich, you have to have the sauce that goes on it. The tzatziki sauce, made of cucumber, sour cream, and some mysteries of the Greek kitchen. And so for years, they were using Mr. Constantine's tzatziki sauce recipe. And one year, his brother Nicholas said, I have a recipe for tzatziki sauce. Now, how much different can the recipe for tzatziki sauce be? 1 cup of yogurt or 1 1/4 cup of yogurt? What can be the difference? And so they started using Nicholas's tzatziki sauce at their festival. And Constantine was furious that after so many years of using his recipe for tzatziki sauce, they started using his younger brother's recipe for tzatziki sauce. And so Constantine got furious, and he had an argument with the priest, and he had an argument with the president of the community, and he had an argument with the chairman of the festival. And for 12 years, he's not gone to church, and he's not talked to his brother. How much longer can those two brothers not speak to each other? One day, and it will be soon, I believe, one of them is going to die first. And he's going to be in a box in the church. And the brother who's still alive will have to go up to that box and look at his brother and try to ask forgiveness of a dead man. It will be too late. The dead man won't be able to hear his brother pleading for forgiveness for something so stupid as the recipe of the tzatziki sauce. And yet, in our own lives, we have tzatziki sauce arguments with people over the most insane little things. We stop talking to each other. We shun each other. We act as if they don't exist when they walk into the room. It's time, right now, today, to pick up the phone and call someone that you have a problem with and just ask for forgiveness. You probably have forgotten why you even hate each other. I know it's true, honey. That's why I'm saying it. Just pick up the phone. Doesn't matter where they are. They could be in Pittsburgh, they can be in Philadelphia, they can be in Florida, they can be in Europe somewhere. It doesn't matter. We have the technology. Pick up the phone and call. And ask for forgiveness. And if the person on the other side accepts it, they will probably ask for forgiveness too. Done deal. If the person on the other side doesn't accept it, it's their problem now. It's not your problem. You tried to reconcile with someone, and they rejected you. Let them have the monkey on their back. Let them be the one who stand in front of Christ on Judgment Day and says, I couldn't forgive that woman. I hated her so much. What were you hating her about? I don't remember. But it was something stupid, I'm sure. Just do it. What's the worst that can happen? And you don't even have an excuse today. No Olympics. They're over. No football game. They haven't started yet. Baseball. We're in trouble already. Hockey, I don't even know if they're playing today. Maybe they are. But take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes after lunch today and call someone. And if you can't think of anyone, call someone and just tell them that you love them. Whoever they are. Not randomly. Don't just dial a number and say, hello, I'm calling from Johnstown, I love you, hang up. It's not what I'm talking about, although that might be interesting. It's a time to check our relationships. Let's do it. Time to decrease some stuff. Turn off the TV occasionally. How about not turning on that radio as much? That little cell phone that all of us carry, it's a beautiful little device, is a great distractor. Turn it off for 1 hour. What's going to happen? You're going to get that one emergency call that you haven't gotten in 30 years. The hour that you turn it off, I doubt it. Be bold. Turn it off for 2 hours sometime during the day. Just don't check anything. Don't check email. Don't check for messages. Don't check Facebook. Don't Instagram. Don't Twitter. Don't do nothing. Just leave it alone. And if you really want to make an impact on your life, when you go home in the afternoon, in the evening, after dinner, turn it off and don't turn it back on until breakfast. Let it go for 12 hours. If they need you, they will call you. Someone will come and get you. Johnstown is not a big city. They can drive there in 5 minutes. In most places, in 3. We don't even have rush hour here. We have rush minute. It's like 3:15 to 3:16. The kids are coming out of school, the mills are closing or changing shifts. And so there's 20 cars on Broad Street. Big deal. Just find the time. Because when you turn that thing off, you have ECT on. You have silence. You will be doing what Palamas said to do. To give yourself that quiet time to connect with God. That's the challenge. That's the challenge for this Lent. You don't believe me? Go to YouTube. I put out a 2-minute challenge about that little cell phone. You can find it, Bishop Gregory of Nyssa. It'll be right there. I know because I checked the other day. Over 1,000 people have seen it already. And already some of those people are letting me know they have turned off their phones for at least an hour every day. Just do it. Just do it. Know that I love you, I care for you, I pray for you. I probably will not see you again now until Holy Week. Next week I'll be in South Florida with our parish down in Hollywood. In 2 weeks I'll be in Homestead because the ACRY Central Retreat is there. On Saturday I will stay Sunday with them. The following week I will be with the ACRY East in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and I'll be celebrating liturgy in Allentown on Sunday. That's Mary of Egypt. And then Palm Sunday, I don't know where I'm going yet. This week I have to figure out what I'm doing for Holy Week. But I hope to be with you Pascha, so that we can go out and sing the hymns of the resurrection, to pound the doors open of the church, and come in and celebrate that beautiful feast of feasts. I've talked enough. I'm going back inside. Have a great week. I know I've said it, but I say it again. I love you very much.
And see